I'm not happy.
I don't need Elizabeth Warren or the government giving away my money.
Calling Mike Bloomberg an oligarch has implications in this country that I think are unfair and unreasonable.
I care. That's it.
Makes you think of some rich person who got their money off of oil in Russia, who's taking advantage of a broken and dysfunctional system.
Bernie Sanders saying, the country's corrupt, our system's corrupt. Be careful about that language, Bernie. You know, be careful.
Oh, well, I'm sorry.
Stilter.
Now witness the firepower of this fully armed and operational battle station.
Oh no!
The nation, Waldorf Nation. Hey everybody, I'm back. Hey, good to see y'all. It's been a little bit, been a while, I should say, but it's good to be back. Took some time off, you know, sanity reasons. Not just, more of like I needed a break. But I'm back, so we're gonna have stories. Don't worry, should be a lot of fun. So let's do it. Yeah, I know. We're just going to get right into it because, like, I'm already super late. It is what it is. And we got stories. We're going to talk about Fox News disinformation. We have Fox News, an ex-Fox News reporter going on CNN. And then I'm going to go after CNN. So I'm going after everybody today because it's one of those things. We're just going after everybody. And then we got Texas canceling history, erasing history. And then we got the hillbilly hypocrite himself, J.D. Vance, raising money in the Hamptons. Shocker. From rich corporate donors. Oh, good. Fun times. Hey, happy birthday, Jessica Morrow, 92. Happiest birthday. All right, let's do it. It's kind of diving in. Hey, guess who did not update his sidebar graphics? Me, this guy. But at least I got the videos right. I mean, I think. I don't know. We'll figure it out. Do it live. Fuck it. We're going to do it live. Aren't you glad I'm back? I know you are. What is this? What is this, a professional show? No. Of course not. Anyway. All right. Now let's do it. Of course. First, I have to do the obligatory.
There's insanity in the control room.
There is. There really is. All right. Oh. I'm a mess. What a disaster. Fox News viewers were not happy with host Steve Doocy after he begged his viewers to please get the vaccine, as of course the Delta variant is continuing to ravage the unvaccinated in America. Here's a little bit of that, what he said on Fox and Friends.
99% of the people who have died have not been vaccinated. And so what they're trying to do is they're trying to make sure that all the people who have not been vaccinated get vaccinated. And unfortunately, and this is one of the reasons apparently the Joe Biden administration came out last week, the administration's been very, very frustrated. They have not been able to get Facebook to get rid of some of the disinformation. The disinformation is online. The vaccine is killing lots and lots of people, or it changes your DNA, or they're little microchips. None of that is true. Everybody else, if you have the chance, get the shot.
But if
It'll
you
save
don't,
your life.
well,
All right, so hey, get your shot, right? And look, he's right. There is plenty of disinformation, but of course, you know the people at Fox and Friends, during that whole segment, they were attacking Facebook for disinformation. Now, that said, is there a lot of disinformation about COVID-19 on Facebook? Of course. But they also might want to look at, I don't know, themselves. It's like they're sitting there saying, oh, I don't know where all this disinformation is coming from. I don't have an idea. Oh, right. It's coming from them. It's right inside the building. The problem is in the building. It's Tucker Carlson. It's Laura Ingraham. It's Tommy Lahren. And then, of course, you have other people that are involved. You got Candace Owens. All these people are, by the way, vaccinated. I don't see a lot of people on the left that are anti-vax. They do exist, to be fair. That said, get the shot. Just, for God's sakes, get the shot. So now, unsurprisingly, Steve Doocy's plea was met with, of course, immediate outrage. Instant, almost. With one person saying, Steve Doocy got the jab. Well, they all do. In order to get into the Fox News building, they all have to be vaccinated. But he continues by saying, what's wrong with you? It's time you retire. Best wishes. Sounds like cancellation to me, but wait, it continues. Another person says, and this is by the handle Save America Vote Red. Oh, great. Yeah. Wonderful. How's that going? Says, Kilmeade, what is Steve Doocy talking about? The rule so out of hand, no normal-minded person will listen to this insane BS. No one tells us what to do with our bodies /health. This is the USA. Hashtag no masks ever. Where the hell are we living? You want vax? Good for you. Stay out of my life. Okay. Wow. The irony of that unhinged tweet, of course, it's the irony of that is that, of course, there's hypocrisy that these same people think that the government should get involved in between, you know, a woman and her doctor if she wants reproductive health care. And it's not just abortion, of course. There's also ample evidence that the far right eventually want to get rid of birth control as well. Anything that's not natural anymore, okay, according to them. But there's more. Here's, I don't know, I'm not even going to read that handle. COVID crazy idiot, or I'm sorry, Fox and Friends, get rid of Steve Doocy, the COVID crazy idiot who thinks everyone should get jabbed. Is that a call for cancellation? Do you want to cancel Steve Doocy for having a different opinion than you? Oh my God. Here we go. Look, that can't be right. I thought they were against cancel culture. All right, well, whatever. Another person says, stop pushing the vaccine, just stop. We will make up our own minds. Jeez. Well, if you already made up your own mind and you decide, no, I'm not going to get the vaccine, well, that's on you. I wish people would get more of the vaccine. I'm not going to advocate, you know, holding people down and forcibly injecting, you know, the vaccine into their arms. No, the best that we can hope for is that people see the benefits, weigh them versus the risks, and make the judgment of, hey, having a vaccine is actually a good thing versus not having the vaccine. Again, right now, 99.5% of all the deaths from COVID-19, the Delta variant, are among the unvaccinated. So I'm just saying, But again, more cancel culture here. This person says, Jennifer Lotta says, Fox and friends, Steve Doocy, mind your business. Don't tell viewers to go get vaccinated. Retire, please. Oh, I mean, at least they added please to that. Okay. Anyway, that said, it wasn't all bad. Here was one person, Sherry, who added, my Trumper husband has refused to get a vaccine. No matter what I say, but Steve Doocy comes on Fox and declares it safe. Well, Steve Doocy didn't declare it safe. The CDC declared it safe. As you know, and so there's that. But added, and hubby's all in. I am offended he trusts Fox News more than he trusts me. Glad he will get vaccinated, but offended as hell. Yes. Look, I don't blame her for feeling that way. I mean, that's kind of crazy. Guy doesn't believe his own wife. Well, where have we heard that story before? But believes some guy on TV. And I realize the irony here of me as a talking head myself, criticizing people for listening to talking heads. I get it. Fair enough. But here's the thing, though. I regularly tell people, don't just believe me. Yes, I'm going to cite my own sources on things. But generally I say, look, you don't have to believe me. Generally, the things that I say, I try to back up with evidence. I try to back up with factual information. And as such, hey, I'm a human being. Sometimes I miss things. Sometimes I get it wrong. I do my best to try to get it right, to state the facts, and then give my opinion on the facts. That's what the show is all about. Now, that's a lot more than you can say about somebody like Tucker Carlson, who just wants to spin a narrative. And that's what it's really all about for a lot of the people on these conservative news networks. They want to spin a narrative. And most likely, it tends to be the opposite of the facts, that narrative. So, and that, of course, brings me to this next story. So Carl Cameron is a former senior political correspondent at Fox News, and he went after Tucker Carlson and other talking heads at the network for promoting dangerous anti-vax conspiracy theories in the name of clicks and profit. In fact, here's Cameron on CNN. Take a look.
It's about ratings.
Just money.
And ratings ultimately become revenue. And that's the name of the game. Whoever gets the most clicks on social media makes the most money, gets the most fame, gets the most attention. And that type of activity is not journalism. It's not news. It's gaslighting. It's propaganda.
So, look, 100%. It is. It is propaganda. Now, he also added, it is the opinion hosts who aren't journalists per se, they're talking heads, and their job, their reward is bringing eyeballs on television. And they all really have to do all they really have to do is keep people watching until it's commercial time, and then it's ka-ching, ka-ching, ka-ching for the networks. It works really well in prime time, but it's not news. Well, understand that, like, a lot of media right now is outrage culture. That's what it is. People will do news stories where they enrage people. And that's really what it's all about. Now, Fox News knows their audience is a bunch of reactionaries who are ignorant of the science and completely distrustful of anything other than their favorite political host. And not just, of course, media. And by the way, you can be skeptical of corporate media. I'm skeptical of corporate media. Of course, everybody has a bias. But here's the thing, you can't be skeptical of factual information. Facts are facts. That's it. The fact is, studies have shown vaccines are overwhelmingly safe and effective. The COVID-19 vaccine, also safe and effective. Yes, there are complications that happen, of course. In fact, they happen to, a fairly minute section of the population. Less than about 1%. But overall, as I said, 99.5% of all the deaths from COVID-19 are from are among the unvaccinated. That's it. And while you can still get COVID-19 while you're vaccinated, that is a result of, again, being unvaccinated. And look, when you are vaccinated, you can get COVID-19. The thing that the vaccine does for you is that it makes sure that you do not get that sick, as sick as you would as if you were unvaccinated. So you're less likely to develop serious symptoms or go to the hospital. And of course, the vaccine also made it so that you were less likely to actually get it. But with the Delta variant, since it is more infectious than the previous variants, you're actually are a little bit more likely to get sick than you were with the previous strains. So hopefully I'm explaining that right. But all right. Basically, as I said, the COVID-19 vaccines are very effective at keeping you out of the hospital and especially out of the grave. That said, I've got more video here of Cameron. He's going to go on. Take a look.
So you say it's about a business model. Isn't killing your own supporters a bad business model?
Absolutely. It makes no sense whatsoever. This is literally the metaphor of the lemmings running to their own slaughter. People who are listening to that sort of stuff instead of the science, which goes way, way back, we would not be the world we are today if it weren't for penicillin. These types of things are real, and to suggest that they're not, particularly if you have no education in science and medicine, it is just plain lying to the American people and putting them at risk of death. This is wrong for journalists to be doing this, or people who call them that, whether it's Fox or One America Network or Newsmax. These are all cable channels that are perpetuating lies, and it has to be stopped.
All right, so he makes a good point in that, yeah, it doesn't make any sense to actively say things that kill your audience. That's why, of course, Steve Doocy's like, no, get your vaccination, please. Because he knows he doesn't want to kill his audience, because guess what? He makes money from that audience. And the Fox News audience is like the average age is around like 72 years old. So they're more susceptible to the viruses and more susceptible getting sick overall. And so, yeah, you really don't want to kill your income stream. All right. That said, here's what he added. He said the solution for all of this is to have people to have is for people to have conversations with loved ones who may be hesitant to the vaccine, but from a place of empathy. He said people have been disillusioned and people have been gaslit and they don't understand it. And then, of course, added the result of course, Donald Trump playing down the vaccines, which, by the way, he also wants to, at the same time he plays down the vaccine, he also got the vaccine, and he also tried to take credit for the development of the vaccine, which again happened under his administration. So if he wanted to take credit for it, not actually, and tell people, it's the Trump vaccine, it's the greatest vaccine ever, it's the best vaccine, you should absolutely get it, then okay, I'm not going to argue too much, because the people that he's appealing to don't understand nuance and facts, and if they want to believe him based on that, okay, whatever. Totally fine with that. If he comes out and I still make fun of him for it, but very stable genius over there, okay? But here's the thing. As far as empathy and understanding, yeah, absolutely. You're not going to get anywhere by calling anybody an idiot. You're going to say, look, this is a situation. It's reality in the ground. You're just more likely to get sick and die from COVID-19 if you don't have your vaccination. That's simply facts. Now, if you choose not to believe them, and if you choose to be an idiot or an asshole, then yeah, I guess you've earned that, and I will call you an idiot and an asshole. But before that, at least try to get through to them the best way that you can, the nicest way that you can. So anyway, that said, we are literally surrounded by information. There's no reason that you can't get the real information on the vaccines. And also, there's a big problem in this country with a lack of media literacy. The ability to tell what's real and what's bullshit. And that can be difficult for some people who don't really do critical thinking, who haven't really been taught to do critical thinking or to look at what's real, what's not. And understand, like, even with that, there are people that still bear responsibility for what they do or what they don't do. So understand that, like, yes, you may have a low media literacy, and you also will watch Fox News. And that, of course, contributes to that media illiteracy. And then you end up having the opinion that vaccines are putting microchips into your body or something ridiculous like that. No, you still have the option, even if you believe that, to do actual research and to look at the CDC and actually look at what's really in the vaccines. And you have the choice whether to believe it or not. Okay? And so that's what I mean by they have some responsibility for what they do and what they actually believe. Again, you can be lied, gaslighted, etc. But at a certain point, it's up to you to go, okay, this is bullshit. I think I know a little bit better than what you're telling me. And I can just feel like you're lying to me. That's all I'm saying. But again, there are organizations out there to scam them. Fox News is one of them. But again, you can choose to believe the lies unquestionably, or you can do the actual research. And by actual research, I don't mean somebody shitty YouTube video. Just saying. Look at the facts. And I think if you do, you end up realizing that there are these people, again, conservatives, organizations mainly, that are trying to lie to you and take advantage of your ignorance. And hopefully that gets you to think, hey, if they're lying about COVID, what else are they lying about? A little bit of hope here, but, you know, I'm a hopeful person. All right. So let's go to the media literacy part of this, which I think is really important. And this is a good example of it. Wait, you mean Trump isn't Jesus? I know, right? Crazy. Doesn't even look like him. Right. Author Michael Wolff was on CNN, CNN's reliable sources on Sunday, and it got a little heated. It got a little contentious. Take a look.
I think the media has done a terrible job on this. I think you yourself, while you're a nice guy, you're full of sanctimony. You become part of one of the parts of the problem of the media. You come on here and you have a monopoly on truth. You know exactly how things are supposed to be done. You are one of the reasons people can't stand the media. Sorry.
You're cracking me up.
It's your fault.
So what should I do differently, Michael?
Don't talk so much. Listen more. People have genuine problems with the media. The media doesn't get the story right. The media exists in its own bubble. Also, you're incredibly repetitive. It's week after week. I mean, you're the flip side of Donald Trump. Fake news, and you say virtuous news.
We
there's
just
a
figure out what
problem
is real.
here. I mean,
Yeah, I'm listening.
Well, figuring out what is real is not so easy, and
Right.
Most people don't want to turn to Brian Stelter to tell us what's real. I'm sorry.
Well, then why'd you bother coming on CNN a few times this week?
I'm a book salesman.
Okay, wow. So there's a lot there to unpack. So already out of the gate, that's probably the most honest anyone's ever been on CNN. Like, well, why do you have me on? Or why did you come on? Because I want to sell books. Yeah, I mean, true. Thank you. But let's get to. I know you're already talking about Stelter's laugh, and of course I wanted to say that. That laugh is an immediate dismissal of any criticism whatsoever. Even though later on he did admit about media being in the bubble. Yeah, okay, I agree with that. Well, thank you. I agree. Absolutely. But here's the thing. He's right. Wolff's right. People don't trust the media. I mean, they can't stand corporate media. In fact, I have some polling results. There's a recent Gallup poll that showed that Americans do have a consistent lack of trust in television news. In fact, more than 3/4 of the public said that they had little confidence in newspaper and television news. In fact, only 21% of respondents said they had a great deal or quite a lot of confidence in newspapers, while only 16% of respondents reported the same of television news. In fact, here is that right here. So they go through all the list of different things where, people have a lot of trust. Look at that. Little trust in public schools. Yikes. It's just, nobody has any trust in any American institutions anymore. And understand that, this is something that's not exactly partisan. Americans all across the political spectrum have, little or to no trust in corporate media. And there's a reason, of course. A lot of it's not exactly news anymore. A lot of it is entertainment or infotainment, and it's flanked by commercials for pharmaceutical companies and oil companies, oil and gas. I mean, how many times have you watched, TV? Like, I remember when I used to watch TV, right? When I used to watch cable news. And it was flanked by natural gas is great for the planet. And it's great for the environment. And it's like, no, it's not. It's actually pretty bad. Actually pretty bad for the environment. I guess less so than if you compare it to oil and coal, but it's still pretty bad. And so, yes, of course, people know you have media consolidation. You have like 2 or 3 corporations that basically, control the 90% of what you see and hear. And a lot of it's, of course, corporate interests that are involved. And so, yeah, you don't trust it. Of course. Of course. In fact, here's the thing, though. You got corporate media like Fox News. It's a good example. Now, Fox News, the highest rated host on Fox News is Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson regularly goes after the corporate media, which is ironic because Fox News is the most corporate of corporate media. Bankrolled literally by billionaires. In fact, in the first 5 years of operation of Fox News, they lost $450 million. It's about $500 million. The only thing that kept them afloat was billionaire money. Why? Because these billionaires wanted to create a propaganda arm of the Republican Party. And so understand, the most corporate of corporate media, the #1 views getter, is constantly decrying corporate media because they know the grift. They understand. They understand that people have such a distrust. And part of it is they've also helped to sow that distrust by, constantly trying to create a new reality. And so the irony, of course, is the biggest corporate media channel in the country calling out corporate media would be kind of hilarious if it weren't so, I don't know, dangerous because so many regular people actually believe it. That definitely fuels the distrust, but that's not to say that CNN and other outlets don't also fuel distrust on their own. And I have a great example of a recent graph from CNN. And I'm going to show you this. You're going to love this. So I want to apologize for that terrible quality graphic, but this is a graph on crime. So violent crime is a very big problem in America. Okay, so look, if you look at that and you think, oh no, crime, it's going up. Oh my God. What's going on here? Well, here's the thing. The x-axis, if you look closely, is actually reversed. and you've had a decrease in crime. 2018 is on the right side of the graph, and 2021 is on the left side. Normally, when you can look at a graph, it's reversed. Okay? Again, the headline, look at that. Violent crime is a very big problem, but actually, when you look at the numbers, it's still lower than in 2018. But if you don't look at the graphic in depth, and this goes back to, of course, media literacy, or the lack thereof, you would think, oh no, it's up. Look at that, oh my God. When in reality, yes, it is up from last year by 7%, but it's still actually down from 2018. And again, this is also random cherry pick dates. October 2018, March of 2019, June of 2020. So come on. But it gets actually worse, because that's not even real crime statistics. It's actually based on an opinion poll rather than a factual measurement of the crime rate. This poll is actually the percentage of adults who think that crime is a very big problem. So this is just what people think, not what reality is. And this is, unfortunately, what we call manufacturing consent. Why? Well, if people believe crime is up, well, now they're worried about crime, right? And now you have a reason to tune into CNN to talk about crime. Oh my God, I hear crime is up. CNN's telling me crime is up. And they're showing me graphs that are misleading, but that show that crime is up. Oh my God. What are we going to do? I guess I'll have to watch to see the crime. And of course, it's for ratings. And understand, you have media all over the political spectrum that is focusing on crime for ratings. Fox News does it. CNN, obviously, doing it. And then, of course, leads to policy proposals. For example, more support in the police. You want to go back to the Gallup poll here. That Gallup poll also cited an increase in the trust of police. And I think this is in the face of left-wing calls to defund the police and actually hold them accountable for police brutality. But now if you're suddenly telling people, oh my God, look at all the crime, look at all the crime, we can't possibly defund the police, or more importantly, support left-wing candidates who call to defund the police. Again, you go here and you're seeing a manufacturing of consent. Just like Fox News with caravans, CNN and corporate media are pushing the narrative that violent crime is out of control. And again, that helps with ratings, and that helps the establishment as well, establishment media, and generally establishment candidates. This is the problem with having news outlets controlled by for-profit media corporations. Now, did CNN apologize? No. Did they retract? No. Not that I know of. Maybe, I don't know, maybe they have and I missed it. And look, understand that this is not to make Fox News look good. Already, you should know, Fox News and conservative media are actually far worse. They play far more fast and loose with the truth. At least CNN, yes, what CNN is doing is they're basically making graphics that are telling a different story based on factual information. Fox News just makes shit up, generally. And so, again, corporate mainstream news does manufacture consent, and you, of course, only need to look at the reporting, of course, the protests in Cuba that happened. Now, look, Cuban protesters are protesting the government. The government can't get vaccines out fast enough. Their economy is wrecked as a result of the obliteration of tourism from the pandemic, of course. And, of course, you add in crushing U.S. sanctions. They're not out there protesting to become America 2.0, or God forbid, asking for our government to come bomb them, as some people would suggest. No, but watch corporate media, and you'll get that, you'll get that. You'll get that sense that, oh no, the Cuban protesters are just waiting for America to come liberate them in another war. No, not at all. So yes, getting back to the point, Michael Wolff is absolutely right. But obviously the issue of media extends far more than just, of course, Brian Stelter, who I'm sure is a nice guy. But again, he's in that Beltway establishment bubble. He admits that he is. And right now, that establishment bubble is almost impossible to pierce. That doesn't mean that CNN and corporate media don't do excellent stories sometimes, and even some journalism. I've reported on that before, but understand that there is media that have biases, and that you should always make sure to keep yourself up on media literacy. Keep that in mind, especially when it comes to important stories, like, for example, foreign policy. That is one where the establishment media is often wrong. Often when it comes to the reporting on left-wing candidates and things like socialism or social democracy, things like that. Or, reporting on taxing corporations, for example. That's the stuff you really got to watch out for, because again, these multimedia billion-dollar corporations are going to look out for themselves and will generally, as a result, skew pretty conservative. And that's kind of my lesson here on media literacy. Oh, and there's a couple of great examples that you point out. They called Bernie supporters brown shirts. Of course, you had Chris Matthews famously coming out and saying things like, Bernie Sanders wins. They're going to march people into Central Park and guillotine them, things like that. Just ridiculous stuff. Absolutely ridiculous stuff. Anyway, there's that. Okay. Before I get to the next story here, I just want to thank regular Mole Rat Dragon for cheering the 234 bits. Appreciate that. S Bloom 85, thank you for resubbing for a month at tier 1. Thank you. Appreciate that. Chris Matthews is still drunk. Well, I mean, I don't really blame him. That one. We prefer to shoot our billionaires into space. Wrong. I'd like to shoot them into the sun. That's just me, though. Oh, misinterpretation is a common one. It's how social programs are conflated as communism. Ah, yes, that is a great example of that. True. All right. Let's go to Texas. The cancellation of history continues. Conservatives are not fans of cancel culture or erasing history, unless it happens to, of course, be about civil rights and for black people and more. Now, the story that I'm referring to is the fact that public schools in Texas are getting one step closer to no longer being required to teach about various American civil rights movements in their social studies classes. So, fighting against things like slavery, Jim Crow, the abolitionists, John Brown, the actual reason for the Civil War, of course, being slavery, among other things. In fact, that's no longer going to be taught in Texas, at least if Republicans have their way. Now, Bloomberg was reporting that on Friday, the state Senate voted 18-4 to pass Senate Bill 3, which drops requirements for teachers to include lessons on Cesar Chavez, Susan B. Anthony, the history of the Native Americans, the writings of Martin Luther King Jr., and other figures and documents in their curriculums. Some examples, of course, is the things that are not required to teach: the I Have a Dream speech and the letter from a Birmingham jail. Fascinating. The Senate bill passed bill will also remove most mentions of people of color and women from those requirements, along with a requirement that students be taught about the history of white supremacy and, quote, the ways in which it is morally wrong. Oh, great. See, look at that. We're balanced. See, yes, we may be removing almost all instances of the achievements of black people, indigenous people, and women, but hey, we are at least going to say white supremacy bad. Oh, wonderful. So white supremacy bad, which I agree with. But here's absolutely no examples of any of the very important contributions to America by people of color, indigenous people, and women. Now, if you don't realize how insidious and disgusting that is, remember, if people growing up don't know about these important contributions, their opinions on these select groups of people are actually shaped by modern discourse. For example, modern conversations involving, things like Chicago and Philadelphia, things that you see on the news, things that you might see on, for example, Fox News about people, protesting George Floyd and things like that. So they're going to look at all that stuff, and they're not going to know the important, the important contributions of these groups. All they're going to see is the modern discourse of, well, black people obviously lazy and violent. And so, therefore, even though we were taught white supremacy bad, they're going to think, well, if these people are all lazy moochers, then, maybe white supremacy not so bad. I mean, that's obviously the worst outcome that you could imagine. And so that does reinforce white supremacy. When you teach people that black people lazy, bad, indigenous people are all, whatever, like, all they do is drink and gamble, blah, blah, blah. Well, yes, that does reinforce white supremacy. And so, I think their lesson on, well, this is why it's morally wrong. Well, that's not going to solve the issue of white supremacy. That's bad. This is incredibly insidious. Now, and of course, this all comes after Greg Abbott, Governor Abbott, previously signed a bill that banned teachers from discussing critical race theory and the 1619 Project. By the way, critical race theory was not even being taught in high school. It's a college level course. But again, these legislators in Texas are dictating how teachers should teach about current events in the classrooms. Now, the idea behind this, they say, is to more explicitly define what can and can't be taught. And so, as a result, this is indoctrination. The thing that literally conservatives always accuse liberals of doing, indoctrination, erasing history. That's what they're trying to do. It's all projection. Okay? And they've been doing this, by the way, conservatives have, since the end of the Civil War. The Confederate racists may have lost in the battlefield. They didn't actually give up the war. They just took the war to the classroom and to the ballot box. And they whitewashed history, literally in some cases. They erected a ton of monuments to Confederate figures, literally decades after the end of the Civil War. In fact, peak construction of Civil War monuments actually occurred between the late 1890s and up to 1920, with the second smaller peak in the late 1950s to 1960s. Gee, I wonder what happened around that time. Weird. Interesting. Yes, that second surge happened to be in the middle of the Civil Rights Movement. And these statues, of course, understand statues don't teach history. They were not there to teach history. What they were put up there to do was, of course, to give veneration to a group of racist traitors to this country. And that's it. Now, going back to the bill, according to Bloomberg, it would also prevent teachers from speaking about current events or controversial issues without giving deference to any one perspective. So basically what they're trying to say is both sides. There are good people on both sides. They did to President Trump. In Charlottesville, there were good people on both sides. Oh, okay. Well, you had anti-racist counter-protesters on one side, and then you had neo-Nazis, the KKK, and Proud Boys, all on the other side. Well, one side is by definition bad. But no, we're going to both sides it and say that there are good people on both sides of this issue because we don't want to give deference to any perspective. Wow. So, yeah, look at that, huh? Now, Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, who presides over the Senate, said in a statement after the vote that Senate Bill 3 will make certain that critical race philosophies, including the debunked 1619 founding myth, are removed from our school curriculum statewide. They were never even in there to begin with. But Patrick said this, quote, "Parents want their students to learn how to think critically, not be indoctrinated by the ridiculous leftist narrative that America and our Constitution are rooted in racism." Okay, here's the thing. They were rooted in racism, but also misogyny as well. In fact, when the Constitution was first signed, the only people that were able to actually participate in the political process were land-owning, wealthy white men. And that's it. Black people, which were slaves at the time, were not even considered a whole person. Women were considered second-class citizens. They weren't allowed to vote until 1920. So now the brilliance of the Constitution is the ability to actually amend it, to change it, to expand rights to people. That's the best part about this country. That's the best part about the Constitution, is you can change it. I know there are, of course, people that are like, no, you can't ever change it. Okay, but what about all the amendments, all the times that we've actually changed it? Ridiculous, right? Again, we've changed it plenty of times. In fact, we changed it when we ended slavery. We expanded the franchise to women. Or, also lowered the voting age to get more people involved in the process. Those were all amendments to the Constitution. And so that's the good thing about this, is that you have this document that is a living document that allows the country to be able to progress and actually expand rights to more people. And so I think showing the history of where we came from compared to where we're at now, which of course we still have a lot of work to do, obviously. But I think showing that evolution, I think is a point of pride. How we got better as a nation as we go and more progressive as a nation. How we can change and evolve to become a better country. Now, of course, you would only be against something like that, however, if you believe that expanding rights to more people was a bad thing. But surely that can't be it, right? Now, the bill, as I said, is ridiculous. It is a erasing of history. It's a erasing of Black people, Indigenous people, and women and all their wonderful contributions to this country. This country would not be the same. Would not be, it wouldn't be the same without those contributions. It wouldn't be America without the contributions of these people. And so it's disgusting to erase history like this. Okay. Now, thankfully, there were members of the Democratic Party who actually showed some spine, some backbone. Now, they have left the state of Texas. Now, the reason they did so is to prevent the legislature from having a quorum. They literally had no other options left to them. So they're like, all right, we're just going to go then. We're going to prevent you from getting a quorum and pass these ridiculous bills. So these bills can't get passed. They've got no chance. And other bills, by the way, being pushed by the Republicans in the legislature are, things that eviscerate voting rights. And so far, they're holding strong, even when it comes to, calls for them to be arrested if they ever go back to Texas. And so, you know what? As far as they're concerned, good. I hope they hold strong. Desperate times call for desperate measures. Because stuff like this cannot be allowed to pass. We cannot actually erase history. One more here. If it's one thing true American patriots like J.D. Vance hate, it's those elite New Yorkers. The people that are living in the Hamptons. Unless, of course, you're going to try to raise money for them. Sure. Recently, the author of Hillbilly Elegy, an Ohio GOP Senate candidate, pro-Trump, was caught fundraising off the very elite that he apparently was not in favor of. His appearance in the famously swanky seaside communities in Long Island, New York, seem a bit hypocritical, especially in light of a tweet Vance had sent out earlier this month, where he, of course, went after the state of New York. Here's what he tweeted, quote, "Serious question. I have to go to New York soon, and I'm trying to figure out where to stay. I've heard it's disgusting and violent there. But is it like Walking Dead Season 1 or Season 4? That tweet, of course, obviously got ratioed to oblivion by pissed off New Yorkers. But it was great red meat for his idiot base, the people who, of course, fall for his grift. Understand that people like J.D. Vance, they're not men of the people. Guy went to Yale and had a venture capital firm. Now, of course, none of those things are necessarily bad. Of course, you can be a good person, go to Yale. You can be a good person with a venture capital firm, I guess. I mean, I've never met one, but I assume it's possible, okay, that you can fund green startups and good stuff like that. Hey, wonderful, right? But this guy, not so much, all right? Look, he did operate, like I said, a venture capital firm based in his home state of Ohio. Now, that fund got some backing from some major names, including Peter Thiel, Mark Anderson, Eric Schmidt, and Scott Dorsey. His firm, headquartered in Cincinnati, according to Axios, will invest in startups in underserved cities such as Salt Lake City, Atlanta, and Raleigh-Durham, according to a source familiar with the strategy. So we'll see if that actually panned out. But here's the thing. You can't sit there and complain about the elites while also raising money from the elites. Just saying. Understand, though, that's kind of the grift. It's the same conservative grift that they all do. I mean, they pretend to be men of the people while taking money, of course, from big corporations and gigantic conservative donors like the Mercer family, who, by the way, was there during his trip to the Hamptons. And so what do they do when they get into office after getting all that money? Well, they cut taxes on the rich, and they leave middle class and working class people to build. They allow these gigantic funds as well to take, snap up available housing with cash to turn into rentals. They destroy the environment. Just a couple of examples. All of this is while regular Americans, regular working people working full-time jobs, minimum wage, by the way, can't actually afford to live in a 2-bedroom apartment in any state in the country. Now, I've got a recent report here from the National Low Income Housing Coalition. And in its annual Out of Reach report, it found that in 93% of U.S. counties, full-time minimum wage workers cannot afford a modest 1-bedroom apartment. Now, of course, the report defines affordability as the hourly wage a full-time worker must earn to spend more than 30% or no more than 30% of their income on rent. That's in line with what most budgeting experts will recommend. So that, in order to do that, of course, you would need to earn $24.90 an hour for a 2-bedroom home and $20.40 an hour for a 1-bedroom rental. You're nowhere near that. Given each state and locality's minimum wage, the report finds that the average minimum wage worker in the U.S. would actually need to work nearly 97 hours per week to afford the average 2-bedroom home. That is obviously more than 2 full-time jobs. So, yeah, there's that. Okay. Now, is J.D. Vance in favor of raising the minimum wage? No, but he claims to speak on behalf of regular people while he begs rich people for campaign money. Of course, he was called out for this. One person says, J.D. Vance, man of the people against the elites, hosting a fundraiser in real America, a.k.a. Southampton. Another person adds, nothing is more J.D. Vance than J.D. Vance hobnobbing in the Hamptons fundraising. Another person adds, this is how he got the nickname Everyman J.D. Vance, because he understands what it means to be anti-establishment, anti-coastal, elitist. Obviously, a lot of sarcasm here. Another person says, I mean, if J.D. Vance's hero, Donald Trump, proved anything, he proved he could be a complete phony and still fool total marks who will buy into your complete BS narratives. So here's the thing. I see everywhere that they call J.D. Vance a populist and Donald Trump a populist. Are they? Are they really? Look, is J.D. Vance in favor of raising the minimum wage, like the majority of the American people want? No, I don't see that anywhere. And maybe I'm wrong, but I haven't heard him talking about that at all. Does he want guaranteed cheaper health care? You know, like the majority of Americans? No. I mean, he hasn't really come up with any sort of plan to support it. And of course, in reality, we know that the cheapest health care that would cover the most, you know, the most amount of people would be Medicare for all. Is he in favor of Medicare for all? No, of course, that's socialism. Does he want legalized marijuana? Come on, that's a slam dunk. That's a layup. What about getting money out of politics? Everybody from across the aisle agrees, hey, that we should get corporate money and the big donor money out of politics. Oh, that's right. You were just there in the Hamptons begging for billionaire money. So yeah, no. The only thing that I've seen from J.D. Vance is vague anti-establishment rhetoric, criticizing the elites and wokeness, and then calling for more immigration restrictions. That's not populism. It's demagoguery. And more importantly, it doesn't actually hold the wealthy establishment accountable, nor does it transfer money and power back into the hands of the people. It doesn't. It doesn't do anything. It's a ploy from people who just want to milk your outrage in order for their own wealth and power. And unfortunately, politics, the political sphere is full of them. Ever since Bernie Sanders showed that you can raise money from the people, being on an anti-establishment populist platform, there have been politicians that have popped up and that have said, oh yeah, I'm anti-establishment too. Except that they're actually not. Except they're actually helping the establishment, and they're not actually helping the American people. What they're doing is they're just, again, taking advantage of your rightful anger, your rightful outrage at the system, which is absolutely broken and does benefit the wealthy few over the rest of the American people. And they're using that in order to get their own power and privilege. And so that's the problem here. Beware of people that claim to be populist, but actually don't back anything popular. Unless their policies are, you know, there to, or they're in favor of policies that will actually help the majority of the American people and will actually fight for those policies, they're not a populist. Just saying. All right. All right. That was, hopefully that was a good show. Hopefully you all enjoyed that. Thank you, Gabby Mathis, for the kind $5. Appreciate that. Grifting on populism, guilty of projection. There's oh my God, there's so much populism grifting right now. And of course, you've got CNN that looks at that fake populism and goes, populism is terrible. We should never do anything populist whatsoever. And just, it helps them. It helps the establishment when you have the grifters up there. It's so incredibly frustrating. So incredibly frustrating. That is the state of American politics. Thank you, Christina, for cheering 100%. Everybody, go follow Christina. She's incredibly based. Follow her channel. She's setting up a new Twitch channel. And you should definitely give her a follow, everybody. All right. That said, Tempa Dan, thank you for resubbing for a month to Tier 1. Appreciate that. 7 months. Why has it been that long? Damn. Awesome. All right. Thank you so much again for your support. Love you all. Be back tomorrow. Should be back to a normal schedule now. Love you. And remember, Change begins with you. Good night, nation. We'll see you all later. Have a good one.
Amazing.
Give me a break. How you like that, boy?
I will eat your ass.
Please clap.
They're kicking me out the door. They're kicking me out the door.